Hi, I'm Jane, and I'm from New York City. And this is my story of how being short, like really short, leads me to have a unique, crazy life. So, I had a really crazy mother who was mad about shopping. Shoes, clothes, makeup, perfumes. She stopped at nothing. One day, when I was 2 years old, she left me at the mall because her hands were full of bags.
Where's Jane?
What?
You took Jane with you while shopping, right? Where is she?
Oh, my hands were full of bags. I might have just left her at the mall. Plus, she's too tiny and short for her age, so it's easy to forget her. Short and ugly. I wonder who she looks like. My dad was furious.
I already knew your shopping was a problem, but this is the last straw!
So he took me and left Mom for good. For a while, Dad and I lived happily in a small apartment. But when I was 8, Dad discovered that he didn't have much time to live, so he decided to leave me with his first wife. He took me to her huge mansion, hugged me really tightly, and left, and I never saw Dad again. Dad's first wife didn't have any children of her own. She was always dressed in black and never smiled. She looked just like a creepy widow, so I started calling her the widow. But there was no denying that the widow was rich. Practically everything in her house was made of gold, even the spoons. On the first day of my new school, the widow sent me off to school in a limo. And at school, the widow had the butler distribute free ice cream for a month, so everyone would be nice to me. At first, it was crazy fun, but on my 10th birthday, even though I was surrounded by friends, I broke down into tears. I missed my parents so much. And then I noticed that no one brought any gifts for me. When I asked them why, some boy yelled, "Because we don't like you, you dwarf, and your breath smells bad." Suddenly, the widow showed up from behind him and put her hand on his mouth and dragged him away. What was going on? So, everyone in school liked me only because of the widow's money? One day, when my so-called best friend announced,
"Hey girls, let's go get some ice cream. Jane's buying."
I lost my cool.
"No, I'm not. You want it? Go get it yourself. I'm not your debit card." "Look at this dwarf being so mean. It's not even your money, Jane. You're a charity case."
They all angrily marched away, and after that, I was a loner. Not only that, it was really annoying that I never got picked during gym class, and I really wanted to play basketball. So one day, in 6th grade, I ran straight onto the court, snatched the ball from another kid, and started dribbling it away. I was small, but fast. Just then, the substitute gym teacher came running onto the court, blowing his whistle furiously. And next thing I knew, he had picked me up and was carrying me away.
"We have a kindergartner on the loose! Don't you know you could seriously get hurt, kid?"
He just wouldn't listen and took me to the principal. He sure looked dumb when the principal told him I was in the 6th grade. But I was still banned from playing. It was too dangerous for me. One day, when I was in 9th grade, right before my exam was about to start, my teacher came up to me and put her hand on my forehead. "Jane, dear, your mom said you aren't feeling well today. You can go home and rest." "But I'm not sick." "Yes, you are, sweetie. You have a horrible fever." And the teacher just dragged me out of the room. After the exams, when I looked at my report card, I was shocked. I got an A+ on an exam I didn't even write, and all the rest as well. The widow then threw a fancy party where she literally distributed money. Worst of all, the party was full of my teachers. Ugh, talk about boring. The only person at the party my age was Andrew from school, the son of one of the teachers. I always had a crush on him, and now he was making his way to me. My heart began to beat like crazy. I do, Andrew, I do.
How does it feel to take something you don't deserve, just because you have money?
Huh? What do you mean?
Oh, come on. Everyone in class already guessed your mother bought those fake grades for you.
Aren't you ashamed? How could you have possibly topped when everyone knows I'm the smartest? I never asked her to do it. She's not even my mom. It's not my fault.
Yeah, your grades are better than your height. Dwarves can't be the smartest.
I stood there, shocked, and I decided it was time for me to tell the widow to change. But she said that she didn't mean any harm. She just wanted to help me get into some college, as it was my dad's last wish. I begged her to let me do it on my own. Eventually, she agreed. Sadly, that didn't pan out as I'd planned. I wasn't doing well in school at all. And without the widow's money, the teachers weren't so nice anymore.
Why is your handwriting so big when you're so short?
Are you so bad at math because it's hard to understand things with your teeny tiny brain? I flunked horribly and was held back a grade. My ex-best friend smirked and said, "Keep flunking and you'll finally reach a grade that suits your height. Can you just leave me alone?"
"Oh, I heard wearing a pink hat while studying helps your brain work because the brain likes the color pink." I tried it, but it didn't work. Guess I'm already a genius.
Or that you don't have a brain. As I left for home that day, with angry tears in my eyes, I ran straight into someone. Andrew. Hey, what's wrong? Why are you crying?
Listen, just back off. I have enough troubles without you.
But Andrew did not back off. The next few days, he really started chasing me all over school. There was just no escaping him. Wherever I went, there he was.
What's wrong with you? I'm trying to study. Stop stalking me.
I'm just worried about you. Let me help you with your grades.
Why?
I appreciate it, but you really don't have to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry. I understand you want to rely on yourself, and I respect that. I'm just offering to help, and also trying to make up for being a jerk. Well, I knew he was a math whiz. If anyone could help me, it was him. From that day onwards, every night, he snuck in from my window to help me study. But he was so distractingly cute and funny. We were becoming super close. The night before the exam, the door flew open and the widow barged in. She started yelling at me. Boys ruin everything. This is probably why you don't get good grades. You're so distracted all the time. Then she dragged him to the window and told him to leave the way he came.
He isn't my boyfriend. He's my private teacher. He's helping me with math.
But she wasn't listening. So Andrew climbed down the tree outside the window and left. The next day, I passed the exam and was over the moon. I ran to him and threw my arms around him. I did it! I passed the math exam on my own! Then, before I knew what I was doing, I kissed him. And what an utterly stupid thing to do that was! Because the minute our lips touched, he froze. I was so embarrassed. I let him go and stepped back. I'm so sorry. Jane, I had no idea that you felt this way about me. I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong idea, but I was just looking out for you. You know, like a little sister. You're just not my type. Wait, what? I never felt so humiliated in my entire life. Without another word, I just turned around and fled. And that was my real first heartbreak. I refused to go down for dinner that evening and shut myself up in my room. A little later, the widow knocked and came in. Do you want to tell me what's wrong, Jane? I burst into tears and told her everything. You were right. Boys ruin everything. From now on, I'm just going to focus on me. I'm going to get a university scholarship and leave this stupid place. And for the first time ever, the widow hugged me. It was really awkward, but also kind of nice. I'll send you to any university you want. You just focus on studying really hard. And that's what I did. I really focused on my lessons. And at home, the widow started to help me out too. She also had her chef make me really healthy food and gave me multivitamins regularly. She helped me out with all my college applications, and for the first time since Dad, I felt like I did have a parent. As I was about to graduate high school, our student counselor called me one day to her office to give me some really amazing news. You got into your dream university, Jane! Congratulations! I squealed in excitement and hugged her. In my excitement, I knocked over my bag, and my bottle of vitamins fell out. Just then, the counselor picked up one of the pills, looking confused. Jane, why are you eating these? Oh, they're just multivitamins. No, they're not, Jane. These pills are given to kids with ADHD to improve focus. No one should be taking these unless a doctor prescribes them. I couldn't believe it. Why would the widow do this? I rushed home and barged straight into her room, throwing the pills on her bed. Why have you been lying to me that these are vitamins? Why are you feeding me pills I don't need? Are you trying to poison me? The widow looked stunned. Then she said, Jane, just let me explain. I was only trying to help you get better. Oh, so you thought I'm so dumb that I needed pills to make me smarter? I only want what's best for you, Jane. That's all I ever wanted. And then I said the words I would regret for the rest of my life. Well, in case you forgot, let me remind you, you're not my mom. You're just a pathetic old widow, and you don't deserve to have kids. And with that, I stormed off to my room. I didn't speak a word to her for the next few weeks, and then I left for university. I felt bad for the things I'd said, but I was too angry to take them back. I was doing really well at university. I met a wonderful guy, Dave. He was the only person I'd ever met who didn't treat me like I was dumb, and he never made me feel little in any way. One day, while we were on a date, I got a terrible phone call. It was a doctor from some hospital saying the widow had been found unconscious in her home and was really unwell. Dave drove me straight to the hospital, and when I went to her, it broke my heart seeing her so pale and weak. I sat down by her and started to cry. Please be okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean those awful things I said. I love you. You're my mom. Just then, Her eyes fluttered open. She gave me a weak smile. Jane, I'm so glad you're here, dear. I'm sorry, too. You were always so tiny. I became really overprotective. I see now that you didn't need that at all. I moved back with Mom to take care of her, and soon she fully recovered. I graduated with honors from university, and I was so happy she could be there. After university, Dave and I got married and had 2 beautiful kids together. We named our son after my dad, and our little girl after the widow, her godmother. When I was 4 years old, Dad started taking me out for walks every day, and I loved them at first because we'd play a really fun game.
Keep an eye out for change on the ground. Whoever collects the most coins wins.
But one day, we came across a nickel that was stuck to the pavement, and Dad just wouldn't let it go. We spent an hour trying to scrape it off and screaming.
Come off, you stupid jerk! Help me, Elena.
I soon realized that Dad wasn't crazy. He was just cheap, and we weren't poor. Mom and Dad owned a large shoe business, but that didn't stop him from pinching pennies. On my 6th birthday, no one came because the birthday invites Dad had emailed to my classmates said, "Bring cash presents only and your own food." One time when I was 7, he took me to a McDonald's and handed me a coupon.
Go place your order while I grab the mustard and ketchup sachets, and then you stuff as many as you can in your pockets.
But instead, I went to the counter and told the guy that some lunatic was stealing their stuff. Dad was thrown out immediately, and I skipped out a minute later with my Happy Meal. His cheapskate ways made me really angry, but one day, I totally lost it. Dad was really weird about tissue paper. He kept all the paper rolls in his cupboard, and Mom and I had to ask his permission to take them. I was in the 3rd grade when I had a friend over, and she accidentally knocked over some juice. I quickly ran to Dad's room, snuck out a roll, and started cleaning up. But just then, Dad walked in, and he screamed at me till he turned blue. My friend started to cry and said, "Sir, I'll pay for the roll. Take this $1. Please forgive me." And Dad actually took it.
Oh my God, Dad! Why are you so cheap?
But just then, Mom walked in, looking really excited. "I've got some great news! We're going to have a baby!" Dad looked like he was having a stroke.
This is too much. She used a whole paper roll, and you got yourself pregnant, and I can't deal with this.
He took his car keys and left, while I ran to Mom and hugged her. Sadly, he came back, and he kept talking nonstop about how expensive another kid would be. When little Macy arrived, we were psyched, but then we found out something sad. Macy was born with partial blindness. To be honest, I didn't think it was really a big deal. I took Macy in my arms and started loving her right away. Once at the dinner table, 3-year-old Macy grabbed a fork and started waving it about. It hit Dad's nose and he started bleeding. Dad had to wrap a Band-Aid across his nose for a few days. He looked hilarious. Since Mom and Dad were really busy with their business, they often made me miss after-school activities and parties to take care of Macy, and I usually didn't mind at all. But when I was in 8th grade, my best friend had planned an amazing birthday bash, and I was really excited to go. When I told my parents, though, they said I couldn't because they had something really important. It wasn't fair I'd be missing my best friend's birthday. I love my sister, but I really wanted to go this time, so I came up with a plan. As soon as Macy fell asleep, I wore my favorite outfit and ran out the door. I'd be back before my parents were. I completely lost track of time, and when I saw my watch, I knew I was in so much trouble. But something much worse than getting caught was waiting for me. An ambulance was parked outside our house. I rushed towards it to find Macy on a stretcher, her head bleeding. She'd woken up and had fallen off the stairs looking for me. The doctor told us that Macy's head would be okay, but she had lost her eyesight completely. What? I couldn't believe it. To make things worse, Dad turned to me and started shouting.
So, Elena, was it worth going to this party that has cost your sister her eyesight? And do you have any idea what this is going to cost me in medical bills? You're so selfish!
I felt like my heart was about to explode. But just then, Mom hugged me tight and glared at Dad.
We're the parents, not Elena. We're responsible for both our kids. Don't blame her.
But Dad just wouldn't stop making me feel guilty. One day when I was about to go meet my friends, he suddenly stopped me.
After everything you've done, how can you even think about fun? Think about poor Macy. who can't have any fun. And it's all your fault.
Dad, that's not really fair.
Don't you talk about what's fair. Do you think it's fair that I have to pay for 2 daughters? One selfish and one blind?
I turned away and ran up to my room, slamming the door behind me and crying tears of anger and guilt. Mom always made me feel better, though, and she told me to just ignore Dad and do my own things. But it got harder to take care of Macy as she grew older. She was the naughtiest little kid. My parents hired a nanny for her, but one day when Macy accidentally sent some food flying on Dad's shirt, he threw his napkin down.
That's it! I don't think that nanny's teaching Macy any manners. I think we should send her to some institution.
Mom and I were horrified, and I covered Macy's ears.
Send her away? How can you even say that? Well, I'm not paying for that nanny anymore.
No, I'll take care of her. She's not going anywhere. So after that, I canceled all my after-school activities to stay home with Macy more. Well, except one. I joined the Young Doctors Club, where we were introduced to medical professionals and taught about health sciences. I found it super interesting and fun. But I got home a bit late one day, and Dad was furious.
You wanted to be Mother Teresa and take care of the burden? You do it now. Forget about your stupid club and find something to do at home. Take up writing. An idiot can write stories.
I did take up writing, and I wrote funny little stories that made Macy laugh. But I'd also research different biology topics and write about them. I'd even discuss them with Macy, who, as it turns out, was quite the little genius. She actually gave me some ideas that helped me with my research. One day, when I took Macy to a park, she said she wanted some ice cream. As I paid the guy and turned around, I saw that she was gone. I looked around in panic, when suddenly I heard her giggling. I ran towards the sound and found her talking to a boy around my age.
Hey, you! Get away from her! Is that how you thank someone who just saved your little sister?
The boy explained that Macy was running towards the busy road and he'd stopped her. I immediately apologized and thanked him, and he just smiled and left. A few days later, my biology teacher came across me in the school library and saw the notes I was writing. She looked completely stunned.
This is brilliant, Elena! You wrote this yourself?
She said my research was on a topic scientists had been struggling with for ages, and I was really onto something. Research a bit more on the areas I've highlighted, and let's meet in a week. When she left, I was floating through the bookshelves with joy, and I crashed into someone. Ouch! It was the guy from the park. Apparently, he was my senior at school, and his name was Kevin. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. I'm just so excited about something. I couldn't hold it in, so I told him all about my research. Turns out, the bio teacher was his aunt. He said he loved biology too, and could probably help me. For the next few days, we met in the library and discussed ways to improve my work. It would sometimes get hard to focus because Kevin was just so darn cute. One day when I got home after our session, all my happiness vanished suddenly. Dad was waiting for me at the front door, holding my research papers in his hand. He threw them in the air and screamed loudly enough for the entire neighborhood to hear.
So this is what you've been doing all this time? This stupid research? What a waste of paper! And you think you'll go off and be a scientist one day? You can't, because you have a sister to take care of, who is blind because of you. Remember?
Why did Dad have to be such a jerk? I turned around and ran away, and the only place I could think of was Kevin's home. His aunt was there too and was rather surprised to see me. He quickly took me up to his room and told me something shocking.
I think my aunt is trying to steal your research and publish it under her name.
Turns out, some papers had fallen out from her bag, and when Kevin saw them, he realized she'd copied all my notes and written her name on them. How can she do this? As angry tears poured down my face, Kevin suddenly pulled me close.
Don't be upset, Elena. We won't let her get away with it.
And then he kissed me. I forgot all about my troubles for a moment and kissed him back. The next day, we went to the principal and exposed the biology teacher. She got fired on the spot, and the principal made sure I got my research back. After that, I didn't care anymore about what Dad said. With Kevin's help, I worked hard on my research proposal and submitted it along with my university application. And to my shock, I actually got accepted on full scholarship. Guys, would you listen to this? Harvard Medical School thinks I'll be a really valuable addition to their university. Mom and Macy gave me a big hug as they cried tears of joy. But Dad, well, he looked livid.
Congratulations, Elena! You can finally pursue your dreams and only think about yourself. Go live your selfish life.
That's when all the years of anger came bubbling out, and I snapped. I'm selfish? I want to be a doctor so I can help people like Macy. But you are the world's worst dad and a cheap little man. I will chase my dreams, and without taking another penny from you. And that doesn't make me selfish. I love Macy, and nothing will ever change that. A month later, I packed my bags, kissed Macy goodbye, and left. After years of hard work, I finally became a practicing neurosurgeon. Kevin helped me through everything and was the best boyfriend ever. Mom and I kept in touch, and I was so happy to see Macy growing so big. But one day, Mom told me that Dad had made some stupid investments and lost the business. I started sending her money and decided that as soon as I was financially stable, I'd move Mom and Macy in with me. A few weeks later, I was shocked to see both my parents at the hospital looking really upset.
Oh, Elena, Macy has a blood clot in her brain and needs surgery immediately. We didn't know where else to go. How will we even afford it?
My baby sister was in danger? Mom, don't even think about it. I'll take care of all the expenses, and I will do her surgery myself. During the surgery, I also discovered a tiny tumor pressing on her optic nerve, and I removed it along with the clot. And now we could only wait for her to wake up. When Macy finally opened her eyes and I called her name, she looked at me directly and said,
Elena? I can see you. I can see you all.
It turned out that the tumor I'd removed had restored most of her vision. It was truly a miracle. I hugged her tightly, and so did Mom and Dad. This was the first time we'd ever had a family group hug, and I thought maybe he changed. But then he turned to me and said,
Oh, my darling Elena, I always knew you were a selfless angel. You will take care of us all. How soon can we move in with you?
I looked him straight in the eye. I'll take care of you, Dad, and I'll be much more generous than you ever were. But you will not be living with us. Well, long story short, Dad moved in with his sister, and I sent him an allowance every month. Fast forward a few years, and I've published several groundbreaking research papers and became a well-renowned neurosurgeon.